I'm a graphic designer, and just about every day someone's telling me that AI is going to take my job. And with this new GPT-5, they're claiming it's as dangerous as the Manhattan Project. So clearly it can take out a graphic designer, right? You would think, well, let's figure that out. I also have the premium version of GPT, so it's supposed to be that much more powerful. But the first thing I wanted to test was to see if it could follow a brand guideline. So like here I have the old Spotify brand guidelines, and I want to plug this in and see, can it make a graphic along these lines, like follow the rules that this thing sets? Because that's a big thing that I do every day. So I will go to the plus, add files, and then I have it saved in this location. I will open it, Spotify brand guidelines, open it, and I'll ask it to generate a social media graphic that follows these brand guidelines. And let's see what that comes out with. And at first impression, it seems good, right? Like it looks Spotify-y, but it didn't actually follow this PDF, because in this PDF, this is the old Spotify, whereas they had this kind of more yellowish green, but here they're using the current one, and that's not mentioned at all in this PDF. So what I think it's doing is it's somehow looking through the internet to source, what Spotify should look at, and it's ignoring what I actually gave it. And so I'm thinking, what if I used a lesser known company instead that wouldn't trip up the GPT algorithm, whatever it does? So as an alternative, I have this PDF here that is just some company I've never heard of. And they, similar ideas, just, oh, look, different ways to use the logo and color schemes and whatever. So let's try plugging that in. And I'll be a little more specific this time. So when I select it, I will say, make a social media graphic that uses, or I'll stick to the same wording, so adheres to these branding guidelines. Use a 4:5 aspect ratio. That's a very common thing that I have to note, and I'm spelling it out pretty plainly. So let's see if it can even do that. And again, it did a square image, not a 4:5 like I asked, and it did its own word mark. So if you actually look at these side by side, the logo splash thing looks right. The color looks a little more saturated here, but maybe I'm wrong. But they completely changed the typeface of Avast, like it's a capital A here, and it's all lowercase in this. And I think this background color isn't even listed in these. It kind of looks like this color, but it's a little more desaturated. And so like I'm looking at multiple red flags here from both of these examples. And like if I did these in my day-to-day when I'm presenting work, like that is gonna make me look like an idiot. But it does these mistakes pretty consistently. And so I'm thinking, well, another thing I do day to day is make mockups. So let's see if it can actually go about making a mockup. So I have this image here, and if I actually open it up for you, it is, I opened TikTok and it was just the first video I saw, and like it's a stupid caption, but I was thinking, could it separate the UI and all this kind of overlaying stuff from the image beneath it? So I could overlay it, make a mockup, and like cleanly mock up some image that I'm working on with this TikTok UI so I can just see it in context. That's a big thing I do every day. And so can it do that? I have the image here, and I'll double click it, and I'll just tell it, this is a TikTok screenshot. Separate the UI and icons from this screenshot onto its own PNG image. The background should be transparent. And I could probably phrase that a couple different ways, but I think that's roughly close. So let's see what it says. So I'll click it and see what it made. Download that to my downloads, and TikTok UI only is the name of the file. And it is just a blank image. I don't think I'm looking at anything here. Yeah, see, it completely misunderstood what I was asking. Like, it's just one transparent image that has nothing to do with the image I gave it. So that's not much good to me. And again, maybe I could fix the phrasing there, but that wasn't even remotely close to what I wanted. And so then I'm thinking, well, those are two examples that really didn't work out well, but maybe it can just do something in Photoshop that can automate my work day to day, right? Just make it quicker. And my go-to reaction was a plugin, maybe. Like, can it program something for me to just click it and it does some task? And I spent hours working with ChatGPT trying to come up with like a little plugin thing that I could just copy and paste and tell it like, hey, look, this is the effect I want, and then all these other little parts are for it to read, like, oh, generate, it's got to be this file name or these file types or whatever, the technical things that don't matter to me, but telling it what it should, specify. And so the idea is, in this case, I said, apply a dithering effect. So kind of make this like glitchy halftone looking thing, or not glitchy, but like kind of pixelated. And so the idea is I can just copy all of this after having spent all that time, and I will just paste it into ChatGPT, and I'll change the plugin purpose to, let's make it like a glitch effect. So apply a glitch effect to an image, and let's see what it comes out with. Okay, so it took 50 seconds and it generated a manifest file and an index JavaScript file, like I mentioned, because like I won't bore you with the details, but essentially Photoshop needs those two formats because we found that was the version that worked most consistently. And so I will just copy this guy and put it into a text file, because in the exploration we found Windows security, for whatever reason, blocks a lot of downloads from OpenAI when it comes to like complicated files like this. Like they think it's a security threat or something. So long story short, I'll just write manifest.json because that is what Photoshop will be looking for. And I'll close that and I'll do the same thing. And I will copy the index file, put this in here and save it as index.javascript. So I'll close that. And again, won't bore you with the details, but to add the plugin, I'm in my developer tools here, so I'll hit add plugin, and it looks for a manifest file, a manifest JSON file. So I'll open it, and maybe it worked. Okay, that's like a 50-50 shot. Like I've tried a lot of times, and sometimes it just straight up doesn't work. Even though I specified the things for it to do, it doesn't even import correctly. I don't program, so I don't know why, but it worked. So I will move this to the other window, and I'll open Photoshop, and I have our little image here already set up. And what should happen if I'll get rid of this old version I had. So unload that. So it'll be blank. And now I will load from my developer tools. I'll load it into Photoshop. So we got our little plugin here, and let's see what happens if I click on it. Does anything happen? No, nothing happens. I don't know why nothing happened. I mean, like what I would probably do is go back into ChatGPT and tell it, scroll to the bottom, and I'll say, nothing happened. And it'll try troubleshooting. So it gave me a little sanity check thing. It wants to figure out, it wants to try to isolate where the issue is. So I'll update this file in the JSON. Go to my downloads, that's where I saved it. So the JSON, update this guy, paste it, save it. And again, I'll make this quick so I don't bore you with all the little nitty-gritty details. But what I want you to see is that I'm doing all this programming and troubleshooting, and it is just this way the entire way through. So I'll grab my guy, unload it, load it, so that'll update it in Photoshop. And in Photoshop, let's see if it worked this time. It should be just click it in the new version, smoke test. And so, okay, it isolated whatever issue. And so now I can tell it, oh, that it worked that time. And so we go back and forth. And like, I guess that's an okay thing if if the effect was really cool, but like I'm sitting here programming, and like that's not really what I should be doing. I should say glitch effect, and it gives me a glitch effect. Like otherwise I would just make the effect myself. Like what's the point of me sitting here and troubleshooting, vibe coding, whatever I'm doing with ChatGPT, when I could just do this in Photoshop myself? The whole point was that AI just magically generates all this stuff, right? So what are we doing here? And so then I'm thinking, maybe if I gave it something more literal, like I'm learning a software and I have a question, could I ask you that? Maybe that's where AI can slot in really well. So I have on my channel, I made this video a couple days ago where I'm talking about this just random topic in a software called Figma. And so let's see, I'll put in that exact prompt and see, does ChatGPT have the ability to either scour the internet and see my video or the post that I found that taught me how to do it? And see what it can do. So, or if it just gives me the wrong answer outright. So it was, how do I rotate or rather, how do I move the rotation point of an object in Figma? Let's see how it does. I'm looking at these suggestions and maybe they would work, but I can tell you objectively, they're not the right answer. The right answer is just Alt R. There's a tool in there and that's all you got to do. But it's unable to reference any of the stuff online that tells you that simple answer. And I'm hitting all these points where it just isn't really giving me the best response is if it's getting me a good response at all, you know? And so I'm thinking maybe something more technical is the right answer to use AI in. And that gets me thinking like 3D models could be the avenue for that, maybe. So I found this GPT that generates 3D models. And so I'll just give one a shot, create a sphere. And it's actually generating an image of a sphere, not a 3D model of one, which fair enough, I guess I didn't specify. So what if I say generate an FBX file of a sphere? An FBX file is pretty common. Like that's about the most basic format you're going to get. And it cannot do that, but it can do OBJ, which is, I guess, basic enough too. So I'll say OBJ. And sure enough, it gave me a download link. So I'll open that up and let's see what we got. Yeah, I mean, that's a sphere. Okay, so that's like one thing where it gave me the right answer. Maybe I could specify triangles, or if I wanted quads or whatever it may be. It's as basic as you can get, but it did it. And let me actually check. I don't know if there would be UVs to this. So I'll say file, import, OBJ. If I go to my downloads, I don't know. Okay, it is not UV'd. And for what it's worth, UVing objects is one of the most commonly automated thing when it comes to just digital art at all. Like automatic UV unwraps, that's about as basic as it gets. So can Chat GPT do this? Well, I will specify UV the model. Let's see if it knows what I mean by that. And it does. It mentions UV mapped. So it's implying it knows what a UV is. So I'll download that. And just like before, I'll open Blender. Let me delete this guy. File, import, OBJ. And I will find, oh no, it's still downloading. Oh, save it to my downloads and go back to Blender. And if I refresh this, there it is, UV. Okay, so with it selected, let's do the same thing, and it is not UV'd, even though it specified that it would be. Or let's see if it can generate anything a little more complicated than a sphere. So I'll say generate an OBJ file of a rock. I don't think it gets much more easy than a rock. And it says it generated it, so let me download that, and I will go to my downloads and open that up for you. And, you know, like the Manhattan Project is producing rocks, you know, like I don't see the usage of this here. As much as I want to like the technology, and I do think there's something conceptually here, this is not taking my job. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm floundering at every single point to find a spot where it could clearly automate something I do day to day, which is, you know, what is it in my job that it can do? And every time I find some example where maybe there's an inkling of technology and process here that it can do, it can't. So as much as I want the technology, I think it's pretty lackluster at the time being, and I could see it, give it a year, give it 5 years. I don't know what it is. I don't develop this technology, but it could be very useful. It's just not there now. So maybe that helps. Maybe that like calms your fears of AI takeovers and whatever, makes you less nervous about AI taking your job. But personally, in the time being, I don't think there's much to fear. So hope that helps. And if anything, let me know. Or if you have some other alternative AI things, I'll fully admit I'm not a pro at this. So if there's something I missed and some other approach or technology or whatever that works instead, let me know.